I woke up to this article today, as you can see from the New York Times. The dangers of belly fat. It was frightening. I got a little bit happening around my waistline, so I thought I would read it. And so here's the line: 35 or more inches for women, 40 or more inches for men is a problem. Now, I don't have that much, but I do have a little bit. And so I've been trying to get it off. And I've been thinking about this because there's I've read in other places there is concern that our population is getting heavier and heavier and the rate of diabetes is going up. And there's a great concern that our population isn't as healthy as it should be. So things like this interest me. And I'm also interested in stress. And stress is related to belly fat, which I'm going to talk about a little bit here. So let's look at some other parts of this. So I found a picture on the internet right here. Uh, my main thing with this picture is it won't grow in the shade. But anyway, there's two types of fat in the body. There's subcutaneous and there's visceral fat. And the visceral fat that accumulates around the abdominal organs is metabolically active and has been strongly linked to a host of serious disease risk, including heart disease, cancer, and dementia. Visceral fat is essentially an endocrine organ that secretes hormones and a host of other chemicals linked to the diseases that commonly affect older adults. And we got to watch out for these two, sugar and flour. Americans, we get a lot of sugar, way more sugar than we're supposed to eat. Refined sugar, white sugar, and flour, we get way more than we're supposed to eat at any one time. That's one of the things about our society. We just have access to so much food at any time that we can just eat ourselves to death. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about is the link between stress and eating. Here I go right here. This is my stress face. Check it out. Don't I look stressed? Yeah, I look stressed. So if you look online for tips about stress, 10 helpful tips for stress management, it's obviously telling us things that we need to do. Unless you learn how to manage your stress, you will suffer mentally and emotionally and physically. So they're suggesting, these are very popular suggestions, regular physical exercise, uh, relaxation techniques, change your attitude to stress, learn to say no. I'm going to come back to that later. Keep a stress diary, reduce caffeine, alcohol, and refined sugar consumption, which we just talked about. Talk to others. Make it a priority to do something you enjoy. Smile and laugh, and then sleep better. So those are the 10 suggestions. The talk to others. There's some psychologists and therapists that don't even feel like you can calm yourself down or decrease your stress level until you turn and talk to someone else. And then a stress diary, writing things down gets it out of your head, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And then so you don't have to like try to remember or rehearse that stuff because it's written down someplace. And then learn how to say no, set boundaries, know your limits, that sort of thing. And better sleep. If you don't get enough sleep, it can make you psychotic, and things that would normally roll off your back will not. And make it a priority to do something you enjoy. I think just setting your own priorities is really important. It's the way I feel sometimes. When I get overstressed, I'm just bogged down with too many things to do. And, we live in an information age now where we have more information coming in from various sources than we ever had in history. And so it's not so much that we have so much information coming in, it's that we don't have good systems for organizing and keeping the information that we received, um, organized and accessible. And so that's kind of what I want to talk to, because when we feel overwhelmed by the information that we have or that we're receiving and all the things that we have to do without an adequate way of keeping it organized, it makes us feel bad. It makes us feel uncomfortable. And then when we feel uncomfortable, we have a tendency to get involved in a number of different self-soothing behaviors. Eating is one. When we're under stress, it releases hormones in the body that compel us to eat, and we have such great access to such poor food choices that often we eat things, flour and sugar, sweet drinks, and that sort of thing that we shouldn't have, and that's the contributing factor to the belly fat. So one of the things I try to talk to people about in all of this, one of the things that they didn't have on the list of stress management techniques is to organize your tasks, things you have to do. And while to-do lists are great, a to-do list in and of itself may not help you that much, because obviously when we write things down and dump our mind of all the things that we have to do, we feel better. But some of us don't take it any farther than that. I've written it down now, so I'm okay. I can just sit right here and the tasks don't get done. So the number one thing that I try to do myself and recommend to other people is that we put a date, a finish date on the task, and that we move the task off the to-do list and onto the calendar where it's scheduled. Because remember, it was talking about learning how to say no and setting boundaries. Well, it's hard to do that if you don't know what it is you have to do. If you're trying to remember, you're not going to be able to remember. It's physically impossible to remember everything we have to do. You might have children, they have a schedule. You might have a partner, she has a schedule. You have a schedule. Your job is giving you some things. Email is giving you some tasks to do. So without writing those things down on a to-do list and then getting them on a calendar so you can schedule, it will be hard to say. It will be hard to say no. Either you'll be saying no to everything, or you'll be saying yes to things and double booking. And then when I double book, then I feel bad because I've double booked. I forgot something, and then I also feel bad because I got to go back and repair and let someone down that I've already made a promise to. That affects my self-esteem, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the type of psychological stress that leads me to try to comfort myself through eating or any number of other compulsive behaviors. So it's the to-do list and it's the calendar, getting it on the calendar, and making sure, like it was saying earlier, that I prioritize the things that I need to do. If you're a conscientious person, let's just say that you are conscientious. Well, your conscientiousness can come back to bite you, because you may be getting everything done for everybody else and leaving your own stuff off the list. And the more conscientious you are, the worse you feel, because you're doing everything for everybody else and feeling like you're getting the short end of the stick because your tasks are not on the list. Yeah, the calendar is like really important, because the calendar is the place where you can write down what you have to do, schedule it, and even if you don't make it, some of the apps on our phones are so powerful that if we have a task on a calendar or have a task on a task list with a due date, if we don't get it accomplished, we can move it forward and not lose track of it. And so that's like a really good feature. And we're using our phones so much. We have a lot of computing power in our phones, and we are looking at our phones a lot for social media. And I feel personally that if I looked at my calendar more and my to-do list more than I looked at social media, I'd be much better off. I'd be a lot less stressed. Um, and in fact, a lot of times when I don't schedule tasks, one of the things that I do, one of my self-soothing rituals is to escape into social media, and which creates more of a problem because I still don't have the items or my task on my calendar up on my dashboard where I can see what I need to do. And so I always think to myself, it would be really nice if I had an assistant that could take all the things that I have to do and prioritize them and then put them out so every day I know what I have to do. Well, I do have that through some of the apps that are available on my phone. And so I could do that for myself and allow, according to Daniel Levithan, that would be considered a brain extender, my calendar, my task list. Those things extend my capacity to keep track of the various things that I need to do and help me reduce my level of stress. And so I'm relating stress to self-soothing. When I feel stressed, I'm seeking ways to self-soothe. That can be eating, that can be spending, that can be substance use. I don't use substances, but for many people, it can be substance use. It can be gambling. It can be, I think that's the trigger for many compulsive behaviors that which are self-soothing rituals that fail. They make us feel better in the short term, and then in the long term, they fail us and leave us feeling worse and worse and deeper in a hole with things we have to do and a lot of missed opportunities. And just like budgeting, a good saying is pay yourself first. Well, managing your time and placing your priorities on your calendar is a way to pay yourself first. Sometimes I feel like if I put it on my calendar, it takes away from the free time that I have. But actually, by getting it on my calendar and getting it up, it buys me time, because now if someone asks me to do something, I want to try to be helpful. I want to try to be conscientious instead of just saying, yeah, I can look at my calendar and determine whether or not I can help them, and then on what time I can help them. And then I can keep better promises and improve my helpfulness and my self-esteem and reduce my stress level. So I don't know. I just, this is all part of what I consider to be a task management approach to not just reducing stress and belly fat, but also relapse prevention. Because anytime I do anything that makes me feel bad about myself, or I don't do the things that make me feel good about myself, then I'm in a position to want to fix it through some compulsive behavior, some addictive behavior. And addiction is not just the use of drugs. It can be anything that is mood altering, habit forming with negative consequences.